Welcome to Invention Stories on YouTube. I am your host, Robert Bear, and this is our interview with Monica Almaguer about her invention, Cup Cozy Pillows. This interview was originally shared on the Invention Stories Podcast, October 15th, 2021. Please be sure to subscribe, comment, and like. Now let's roll. Monica Almaguer has invented the Cup Cozy Pillow, which truly is a pillow that is designed to hold your cups, snacks, remote control, and more without spilling. We have Monica Almaguer on the line from Las Vegas, Nevada. So let's get started. Welcome to the podcast. Did you grow up in Reading?
I grew up in Reading. Yeah, pretty much my whole life until I moved to Vegas in 95.
When you identified Las Vegas as the place you moved to, you said, where's just equally as hot in the summer as Reading? And you said, you know what Vegas is?
Vegas, yeah. So I went from hot to hot.
Yeah.
It wasn't much different.
How'd you like growing up in Reading?
I didn't know anything different. It was fine. It was big enough. It wasn't too small. It wasn't too big. So it's a lot of the people that you grew up with and went through school the whole time with. So, he had good relationships throughout the whole time. But we don't know anything different until I moved to Las Vegas and was able to reflect back. I could see the value of growing up in a smaller town. At the time, it might have been 70, 80,000 people. Because I'm like, to me, it's small versus Vegas area that's like 2 million. So.
Okay. Did you know any inventors growing up?
Any who?
Inventors.
Oh, any inventors? No, none. No, I just was the typical kid and doing my own thing. Even though I always felt I was a little entrepreneurial, but actually like inventor wise, no. Just very, I grew up a little bit on the poor side. I always had a home. We always had food. But I just wanted more for myself. And so I was just determined no matter what, I would work hard. And initially that meant I was going to be a dentist. No, actually I started off wanting to be an orthodontist. And then I found out that requires 10 years. And I thought, it's a little bit too much school. So then I dropped it down to being a dentist. And then I thought, 8 years is still quite a bit of school. So then I ended up being a dental hygienist, which was 4 years. So that was initially where I ended up going with that. But it was very much just money based and wanting to make sure that I had enough money for the extras in life.
Fair enough. How'd you wind up in Las Vegas?
I was actually accepted into the dental hygiene program here. So that's why I ended up moving here.
And what led up to you inventing your Cup Cozy Pillow?
Well, I was pregnant with my twins, who are now 7, Madison and Mason. And they, of course, like most twins, came early, 2 months early. So when I was ready to come back to the job that I had been working at, the place I'd been working at for 5 years, they just basically said, oh, we don't have a place for you anymore. And I already had like an Amazon side business that I was doing part-time. So I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and try to ramp that up and see if I can replace the income, because it would be nice to stay at home with these young twins that are going to require a lot of work. So that's what I did. Well, the problem was a lot of my work was using a laptop on the couch. And I always have a Fountain Diet Coke with me. And I couldn't sit there and type and have my soda right next to me. So to sit there and move my laptop back and forth all the time, reach for my coffee table, logistically, it just wasn't working out. So I was building this fort of pillows around my cup to try to get it not to spill. And then just one day I was like, I'm going to just put a hole in one of these pillows. So that's why I cut the hole out and the stuffings are all coming out. And then I put the cup in there and it worked really, really well. And I was able to just with one hand do an arm pivot and have my drink right where I wanted it. And that's basically like the idea. And then my husband started stealing it. He'd come home at night from work and he was working swing shift at the time. And I'd leave my pillow at the front couch and it ended up in his man cave. And I'd be like, where's my pillow? And he's like, well, I needed it more than you did. So we started arguing over it. And then my kids would want to use it. And it just like, I'm like, oh, we have something here.
How did you come up with the name?
My husband came up with the name. My idea, his name were very much, a lot of times, because I'm the face of the business, it was my original thought. A lot of times, like he's very much in the background, but very much part of the business. So he's very good at coming up with like nicknames, all of our pet animal names, but he just blurted it out. And I was like, okay, In retrospect, we have it as Cup Cozy Pillow, but everyone wants to call it Cozy Cup Pillow. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we should have gone with Cozy Cup Pillow instead. But now it's too late.
What is the Cup Cozy Pillow?
The Cup Cozy Pillow is the easiest, most convenient way to keep your drinks close to you and safe from spills. It's a cup holder that is soft like a pillow.
What's the name of the website?
cupcozypillow.com.
And it started off, it sounded like was for one cup. And I see on your website that you offer it in a 3-hole and a 5-hole variation. How did you come up with that?
Initially, when we did the first prototype, it was only for the 5-hole. And then we were seeking a local person because I don't sew. I just didn't know anything. So we had it kind of schematically drawn out. Well, the lady who was doing that prototype liked it so much, she created a 3-hole version for herself. So then we're like, well, yeah, we like this too. So we ended up going with the 2 sizes, but it was because our prototype maker, we saw that and we thought it might be a wise decision to have 2 size options.
And once you had your prototype, did you apply for a patent, or where did the patent fit in?
Yeah, we initially applied for the provisional. And then once we had both designs, then we applied it for both designs.
You have 2 different options, the traditional, and then you have the Cup Cozy Critters.
Right.
Was the initial design originally, and then after a while, you thought, why not turn these into critters?
I thought the critters would be gangbusters. You have kids, so of course, anything when you can make it super cute would be a better option. Every kid has their, I need my water bottle by my bed, because every kid's like, I need water in the middle of the night. So I thought this would be a fun way to have essentially a Cup Cozy Pillow, the same concept, and make it into a plush animal design. But those sales have actually been slower than I anticipated. And I thought that they would blow up. I thought it would be way better than the other sales, but that hasn't proven to be true.
How did you decide on the critters? You could have made any kind of critter, right?
Right. So initially, we started with, okay, what's popular right now? What's popular with girls is the unicorns, and with boys are dogs. You can't go wrong. Those are kind of like 2 staples. We actually have prototyped a cat and a dinosaur, which in my mind are the cutest things ever. And so it's just like a matter of, you start with the 2 that you think are going to be the best selling, and then create versions and expand from there. So that's just kind of was our step. We're like, we'll start with these 2. And then once it proves the concept, we'll expand to the other animal designs and what's just kind of popular at the time. So right now it's unicorns and dogs.
You get a lot of conventions there. And I know one of the conventions is licensing. Have you ever thought about going and getting a license for like NFL or Raider or Cup Cozy Pillow? Did that ever cross your mind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. It's definitely in the loose future plans. What we have experienced is that we try to bring things about that are going to have the most sales. So while people are like, well, your colors are kind of boring sometimes, the standard gray, brown, black. But the problem is people like looking at those fun designs like the sports team, but it's a bit niche. Am I going to spend my money creating something that only Raiders fans are going to buy, or am I going to sit there and put that money elsewhere? So until I don't know if I want to spend, and because of the ordering minimums, say it's 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 order quantity you have to do, you have to house those until they sell through. So it's just always in my mind, yes, if we get to a certain level, we're not there yet. And then to have to go through that process of licensing. Anyway, long story short, yes, we have thought of it. I don't think financially it's going to pay off in the immediate future to do it. But if we get to a certain level, it may.
How about personalization? Have you ever considered, like, if you could have somebody send you a photo and then you could maybe the grandchildren on your Cup Cozy Pillow? Have you considered that?
I think like embroidering a name itself would be completely doable. We would just have to take the cover off, embroider it, and put it back on, and then repackage it. But once again, you're talking about how many more people would buy it versus not buy it for the extra hassle. So that's just kind of where we're at with that. It's possible, but I just don't think it's worth the time at this time to do it that way.
Or have you considered like a partnership with somebody who's already established, who already does personalization?
Not really, because You would have to give them inventory, get them over the order, have them send. Is this a logistics issue? And like I said, I don't believe we're going to lose that many cells or with not having that option. So I'm always about not only the cost, but the time factor of things. So if someone really wants something personalized, it's very easy for someone to just take off the pillow and get it done themselves. But yeah, most of our cells are through Amazon. I'd say 95 to 98%. So you're already going to be sending them bulk masses. So you're talking maybe a 2% portion of your cells that might benefit from that.
Where are they manufactured?
They're manufactured in China.
And how did you decide which manufacturer to use?
Yeah, initially, because when you first start, you don't know anything. And so it's very daunting to think, oh, I have to learn this part. How am I supposed to find a manufacturer? Initially, I hired a sourcing company that turned out to be a disaster because that's a whole nother story. It was a disaster. So I ended up firing them. And then I just went on Alibaba. And so our thought was, because it's kind of a new product where it's not quite a pillow, it's not quite a cup holder. We just try to find somebody that's a plush manufacturer, even looking to somebody maybe does dog beds, things that are similar to what we had. And we drew them out the schematic and we had it all, the CAD file already. And basically, I just did a request out with Alibaba, and quite a few manufacturers contacted us. And then I chose a couple from that point to make prototypes. And then once I had the prototypes, then it ended up not even being the cheapest one. It was the one that had the best communication. So they were a little bit more expensive, but the communication for me was key. And we still have them as our manufacturer 4 years later. We also added a second one.
A second manufacturer?
Yeah, because you can't just rely on what if something happens, or how do you know they're giving you the best price, or competition's always a good thing. So if I usually split my order now between them. And so if there's ever issues, we have a backup. What if their factory burns down? I mean, you just don't know in life. So having a backup plan is always a good thing.
How long from the time that you put the order in till you receive the order? Or how long is that usually? Or has it been?
Require 6 weeks to make them. And our orders are usually between 5,000 units and 15,000 units. And then from that point, then it takes another 30 days. I'm saying pre-COVID because shipping and getting freight space right now is a big issue. Normally, if things are chugging along normally, it would be, probably 90 days total. It's not too bad.
Is there any tariffs on it?
Mm-hmm, yeah, there used to be. Okay, it's upon the category. So our particular category, it used to be 6%. And then Trump implemented the extra tariffs for the trade agreement, and that added 15% on top of the 6%. So yeah, the tariffs are still in place. They're pretty high. And Biden hasn't changed that. They're still there.
Did you adjust your price for that, or did you already have that sort of built in?
The tariffs we absorbed. The extra, what we couldn't absorb is the container prices. So most recently, pre-COVID, it was about $1,700 to get one container from port to port. Well, now the most recent quote we got was $17,000. So yeah, I know. I just saw your eyes. Well, that's exactly what happened too. The last container I got, the one that I don't have anything on the ocean right now. The last container I got was $10,000. I almost died on that one. So when I got this news quote, which I have to pay because I put the order in, they can't just hold it indefinitely in China for me. I have to pay $17,000. Well, if each container holds 5,000 units, which is about how much we get, that's over $3 a unit. That cost can't be absorbed. It has to be added on. So yes, just recently we increased our price, and saying it is what it is, everything's going up, but this is the reason why.
I'm sure you looked in the United States and realized pretty quickly that you couldn't do it as far as manufacturing it local. Did you consider Mexico?
I haven't recently really considered Mexico. I did look at Mexico we have another line coming in 2022 called the Cup Cozy Hydro, completely waterproof. So you could use it in your pool or lake and stuff. So I was excited thinking, I'm going to be able to do this in the US because we couldn't do our regular pillows in the US. And then came to find out that the only manufacturing plant for that type of thing was just recently closed and shipped over to Thailand. So I did find a company that is not specifically US, but Canada and Mexico. Their price point is almost 3 times as high. So we're still stuck back in China, unfortunately.
Well, what about another country like Thailand or Vietnam where they wouldn't have the same tariffs? Have you looked
Well,
there?
that's true. If we were out of Vietnam, then we wouldn't have the tariffs because of the trade agreement. However, the problem with Vietnam, because we also tried to do that too, we're kind of like, oh, let's see, Vietnam, they would still have to get the fabric from China, which doesn't make any sense. It's kind of crazy to me. So ultimately, there was really no way of getting around China for our product. At some point, part of it's going to be made in China. And then you add in the time frame of them having to wait for the fabric to be manufactured and then shipped to Vietnam. So yeah, in this case, it didn't pan out.
You're selling them on your website and on Amazon, anywhere else?
Yeah, we're also on Walmart.com. We've previously been on HSN, Good Morning America. But as of right now, with the way things are and the cost of getting inventory and how difficult it is, we're not doing any wholesale. So we're going to be staying completely online until things get settled.
Sounds like Amazon is really the biggest part of your sales. So do you do all of that yourself? Do you hire a specialist or
no, we
did you just put it up and did your best?
Yeah, that's exactly. We initially started with the 4 colors and the 2 sizes. And then we have a professional photographer and we put those up. I just recently added more graphics. So I took the existing photos we had and added some graphics to it. And that looks a lot better. Most of my sales are coming to Amazon. Let me focus on that. And then originally I would only be advertising through Amazon because their stats are really good. And I could see where it's coming through and what keywords and such. So really, I tried to do as much as I can on the platform that's doing the best. And now I kind of shut down everything advertising wise because we've had so many sales, we organically come up on the first page for those kind of key terms that people are looking for. So I did have to, for about 2 years, really have to pay quite a bit in the Amazon advertising, but now we don't have to.
That's good. What about social media? What social medias do you use to promote?
Facebook is probably our number 1. I haven't found that Twitter does much. Now, I am a huge believer in TikTok because we've had 2 TikTok influencers it had nothing to do with us contacting them. But all of a sudden we saw these huge increase in sales. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it's because they created videos that had our product in it. They didn't let us know. We saw this massive increase in sales. So if you can get your product in front of a TikTok influencer, some of them we contacted, they wanted $4,000 up front. And then they get a commission from their sales from the storefront on Amazon. So it's kind of like a win-win. But as far as us creating TikToks, we've tried that and doesn't seem to pull through. But if you can get your product in front of that TikToker, it's a game changer. It really is.
All right. I watched one of your videos where you and your husband, I don't want to say you're rapping, you were singing a song that was like, it was pretty cute. Did you guys come up with that song yourself? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Originally was from when we were trying to do the Kickstarter at the very beginning. And yeah, it was a little bit different. I'm very much trying to do like, let's do something. This is the standard way. So let's not do the standard way. Let's do a different way. So at least it's memorable, if nothing else.
How about Thunderdome? You were on that.
You're on Thunderdome. Yeah, that was probably the scariest thing I've ever done. It was so, and I'm one, I can get up and talk to anybody or whatever, but that was very nerve-wracking. But it was a good exposure, but it did not lead to as many sales as we had thought. We had far more sales from the TikTok exposures than we did from Thunderdome, which you wouldn't think, because here you have a show as ABC prime time. And, you saw definitely this influx, but it wasn't nearly what I thought it would be.
What do you find to be as a good use of your time? And what do you find has been a waste?
I don't think anything initially is a waste of your time, because until you try something, you don't know. For instance, the TikTok thing of us making TikTok videos. And I'm very fortunate that my son is wanting to be in the movie industry, knows how to edit, and he shoots and does all of our video stuff for us. But I'm like, okay, let's make these TikToks. Okay, well, TikTok as a platform is fantastic, but us personally making videos, it's not really working out. So now I'm having him shoot an actual 30-second ad next week. So I don't think anything's really a waste. But like I said before, as far as where I'm going to focus, I'm focusing my attention on where my sales have proven to be, which is on Amazon. So how can I best create a listing that's going to sell through? That's why I recently improved the graphics and having more videos. And if you're a branded company on Amazon, you can have enhanced content. So I'm actually going to be making sure your product description is the best. So those are things I'm going to revisit in the next couple of weeks, are those extra content that I can add on there, which I haven't yet.
Amazon influencer, are you familiar with it?
Yes. I mean, I've shopped for things on only because when I see pictures from Amazon influencers of, say, outfits, I'm like, oh, that is a cute outfit. Let me click through. So I'm more from the consumer side.
How do you manage your time? How do you know what to do when? I'm sure you got 300 other things you got on your plate.
Always. I'm the typical mom, wife. Yeah. So originally, I actually remember the original business I was telling you about that I had started and had decided to try to pull that full time. I was doing that along with Cup Cozy Pillow until 2 months ago. And it just got to be too much. And so I let that other one go. We're finally at a point financially where we can let that go. I didn't even realize how stressed out I was. And my husband walked through the door. He'd been working, and then I'd be at the computer all the time. So eventually it's like, okay, something has to go. So, but as far as the day-to-day stuff, and that really made a big difference. At some point, there's only so many hours in a day. So, okay, Cup Cozy Pillow is at this point financially, we can do that. It was hard to let that second income go, but you have to have quality of life too. So we decided to let that money go. But what I just try to typically do, like yesterday was a house day. I did hardly anything on the business, and it was all about updating, cleaning the house, and get things ready for school kids. And then like today will be a work day where I'm going to be focusing on today, Walmart.com, and enhancing those listings because I have to get those caught up. Personally, what works for me is segmenting them into a specific focus for one day. If you don't do that and you're spending 5 minutes here, 30 minutes there, you're not going to see a lot of progress. At least that's how I work. And then tomorrow might be a different focus. But as of today, it's business. But the next day, it might be 100% just kids and going and doing the things I need to do to get them ready for school and picking up their uniforms. You just do the best you can. That's all you can do.
Right on. Women Inventors and the 7%.
That was a great book, Robert. You did good.
And you received your copy, right?
I received it and I read it. Yes, I did.
Well, take it away, Monica.
I never set out to be an inventor. In fact, I was a dental hygienist on maternity leave from the recent birth of my twins. But I had a problem that was driving me crazy. I couldn't find a way to keep my drink close to me and safe from spills. So I got a pillow, cut a hole in it, and a Cup Cozy Pillow was born. When my family started fighting over who got to use it, I knew we had something. Women, particularly moms, are natural problem solvers. Your invention doesn't have to be huge to change the world. The Cup Cozy Pillow is not rocket science. It's a pillow with holes that hold your drinks. It brings me great joy to know that what started as a solution for my own family is now helping families across the world. Every single day, the Cup Cozy Pillow is making someone's life just a little less stressful. My children have greatly benefited from witnessing, participating, and learning from the invention process, from making the prototype to manufacturing, then on to marketing, warehousing, and fulfillment. It expands their minds and their dreams when thinking of their future. My eldest son, who's 18 years old, has already prototyped a board game he hopes to get licensed. It's real life business school 101. Like the birth of a child, it's been a labor of love with my husband. It's not without pain, sacrifice, and worries, but just like children, it's worth it.
I think that's one of the best paragraphs I've ever listened to, because that's what it's about. I think your children watched you turn your idea into a product, and it's like, wow. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. So thank you for sharing. Well, Monica, thank you for being our guest today on the Invention Stories Podcast. But before I let you go, I'd like to ask you one final question, and that is, say somebody has an idea for an invention. and they know very little about the invention process or how to be an entrepreneur, and they ask you for your advice, what advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing is it worth it? Like looking at the product, is how niche or is it general enough? Because you're going to be spending a lot of time and taking away from other aspects of your life. So they have to first identify if the market's going to be viable enough to really do that. If they've already gone to that point and think that, yes, it's a viable thing and they want to proceed from there. The only other thing I would say is nobody knows what they're doing. They don't. You think all these other people know what they do. You don't. It's like any new parent, there's books out there and whatever. But until you go through the process, you have to learn it. That was the biggest thing I've learned from the sourcing fiasco is once you know it, though, you know it. So take the time and learn the process. And then when you have brand extensions or product extensions or a new idea, you'll know the process and it's much easier. So just take it one step at a time. What's the next step? And don't try, that saying, you eat an elephant one piece at a time. That's true. That's what you have to do. You just look at your next step and focus on that exclusively.
Well said. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that having the family support is important because it's such a big deal. My husband and I, fortunately, are doing this together. I think it would be very difficult if you had a spouse that wasn't behind you because it's going to be taking away from other aspects of your life. So consider that as well, the time factor and how it's going to revolve and the goals of what you want with the product.